What's up, folks? I'm Wesley, and today we talk about Dracula by Bram Stoker. Hi, Jax. Jax wants to say hi. Come here. Come here. It's okay. You say hi to the camera? Huh? Say hello. Yeah. Okay. Go away. Shush. Get back. I'm gonna do my best to keep spoilers out of this. It's gonna be a spoiler-free review. And if you're interested in reading Dracula, or you think you might be, my first note to you is gonna be that the entire book is written in epistolaries. If you don't know what an epistolary is, it's like when you take journal entries and newspaper clippings and things of that, and you put them all together to form a narrative. Second note, this book was written in 1897, and it shows. Sometimes reading it is a struggle. The characters speak very formally. There are some foreign characters who speak English somewhat poorly. And then there are characters with very heavy accents, and sometimes you just straight don't know what they're saying. You have to read the passage like 3 times to work out what the words actually are. Because Stoker very much embraced their accent. Now, in the opening of this book, I felt the opening was very strong. We start off with some journal entries from a man named Jonathan Harker. And he is on his way to Castle Dracula on business. Now when he gets there, this is tiny spoilers for the opening of the book, I guess, but it's the first, chapter, okay? So I don't really consider that spoilers. When he gets there, he kind of goes on a very strange coach ride. Some weird things happen in the woods. He gets a little bit freaked out. He's not sure what's going on. Then he gets to Castle Dracula, and he just goes about business. Things seem normal to him again. Until he finds out, he starts noticing peculiarities, and then he finds out that he can't really leave. He's trapped here. And Dracula made me smile when I was first reading this because, this is no Twilight vampire, man. This isn't even any modern vampire, really. It's not the trendy vampire. Dracula is straight evil, and vampirism is a curse from the devil. So much so that when you are afflicted with vampirism, it is a curse upon your soul. And until your second death, you are denied death and entrance to heaven. Anyway, Dracula is really interesting because he's psychologically creepy. He's super creepy. He's all smiles and politeness, while the entire time he knows what's really going on, Jonathan knows what's really going on, and they both know that either one of them knows what's really going on. And that is that Jonathan is not allowed to leave. Now, moving from there, I had attempted to read this book like a year ago when I got it originally. And moving off from the opening, it gets a little bit dull. And then from that point on, there are some very compelling sequences. There's a newspaper article that you read that I thought was super interesting and very well written. Don't get me wrong, the entire book is well written, but just the subject matter was sometimes dull and sometimes extremely interesting. It very much fluctuates up and down. Now that is very forgivable as you progress in the book because you realize what Stoker has crafted. You realize that you're following small pieces of narrative that are all relevant, and they all contain little clues and little hints of what's going on. And you get to a point where the characters start to bring things together and put two and two together. And it's super interesting. Hi, buddy. Hello. I thought that was really cool. And it was just really impressive what Stoker did with it. The only other author who I've read that has written a story on epistollaries was Lovecraft. And I enjoyed his too. Towards the later middle of the book, I did have a couple frustrations because all of our characters are... He scared himself. He knocked over a water bottle. All of our characters are very intelligent. They're typical old literature characters. We'll go outside in a minute. He wants to go for a walk. They're courageous and brave and they're really smart. And they're not putting very, very obvious clues together. And that gets a little bit frustrating when, as a reader, what's going on is very apparent to you. And these characters that have been demonstrated to be really intelligent and are putting clues together and things together that I didn't pick up on are missing things that I see as obvious. There's a decent sized group of them, so it's not like I'm just following one character and he's not picking up something that I would, which is more understandable. No, there's like 5 people working on this or something like that. So there are many different eyes looking at this, and they should be picking up on this in my opinion. And it felt like they're not noticing exclusively to further the plot, when I don't even think it was necessary. Now when they finally put everything together and our heroes are approaching the climax of the story, I actually thought the story kind of morphs away from... this story's classified as horror, but I'm not sure I'd consider it horror. In the beginning, I guess it is. I guess it's horror. It's kind of creepy. Anyway, it moves from a sort of supernatural horror into almost a thriller to me. Towards the end of this book, things started to pick up and go really, really fast, and the entire time I was on edge, wondering how it was going to turn out. Up until that point, this book hadn't hooked me into the kind of addictive momentum that books can have, where you don't want to put them down. But in the last fifth of this book, I read it all in one sitting. I didn't want to put the book down. I stayed up way later than I should because I had work the next day, but I just wanted to finish and wanted to know what was happening. And it was super exciting. And when you get to the ending, I don't want to spoil anything, but I wasn't sure, is this story going to turn out to be a tragedy? Or is it going to be more like typical older literature where the heroes win and evil is vanquished? What's going to happen here? And at the end, it turned out rather satisfying. There was like 2 details that I could have nitpicked at and said this doesn't make sense. But is there a book that doesn't have details that you can point out? It's very rare that a book's plotline or sequence of events is flawless. Overall, this book was good. I really enjoyed it, and more than I enjoyed it, I respect what was done with it. I just thought the way everything linked together was super cool and super interesting, and I was impressed with the author's ability to tie things together. And when it clicked in my head what was going on with the story, I thought it was great. As far as personal enjoyment of the book goes, it's going to be somewhere in between a 3 and a 4, with 3 being average and 4 being good. But as far as objectively, I think this book is probably a 4-star read. And I would recommend that any of you all who are into horror, classic vampire literature, mystery, things like that, definitely check it out. Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm gonna take Jax over here on his walk, which he has been desperately wanting. Like, subscribe if you haven't. Comments always help. Appreciate the support. Peace out, y'all.